What is up, Insaners? How is your week going? This is Insanely Football and welcome to another crazy video where we're going to talk about the best strategies for FPL teams from game week 28 to 34. We'll cover all the teams who have the best fixtures, the best players to target and the best chip strategies, so make sure you watch the whole video. Don't panic guys if you've not had the best of seasons. It has been a tricky one for a lot of managers, and I'm sure after watching this video, you'll have a good idea about the different options you have going forward. Please do hit the like button if you like today's video. Our aim is to make this guide available to as many people as we can, and your likes and comments would definitely help us get there. If you're new around here, do check out our channel. We're doing a lot of videos on FPL. We're also coming up with a lot of content on Premier League this season, so do watch out for our Premier League Chatter series. Finally, if all this interests you, please do subscribe to our channel as well. This would help you get information about all the good stuff that we do. Let's get started with today's video guys. Now the way we're going to structure this video is by first talking about some teams that stand out in the short term, which are the next 2 to 3 fixtures, and then possibly look at some teams whose fixtures turn after game week 30. Now if you look at fixtures till game week 30, and this includes the blank double game week 29, Aston Villa, Leeds and Tottenham particularly stand out. Aston Villa play Newcastle, Tottenham and Fulham, so all 3 games look pretty good from a defensive point of view. Newcastle should be without Almiron, Saint Maximin and Callum Wilson, so surely there are clean sheet points available here. Spurs is going to be tricky if Kane, Son and Bale all 3 feature together. Then it's Fulham, who are playing really well at the moment but don't score a lot of goals, and it might be a tight game. Now a lot of you already have 2 to 3 Villa players at the moment. Martinez, Watkins and Target are the most standout options. Now bringing in any attacker or Watkins, if you don't him, would obviously depend on whether Grealish is fit or not. If he's fit to play, then both become really good options for sure. I only have Martinez in my team right now, and I might get Target as my game week 28 transfer to have an extra player for game week 29 as well. Leeds are the second team who have decent fixtures over the next 3 game weeks. Their game in game week 28 will be difficult, especially when Chelsea have been in such great form from a defensive point of view. They've not conceded a lot of goals, keeping 7 clean sheets in the 9 games. And the way Leeds generally play, it is by targeting the opposition with the man marking system. Their record against the bigger clubs has been poor this season, and Chelsea definitely has the ability to play around that system with intelligent players. Leeds' other 2 fixtures are Fulham and Sheffield United, which again look better from an attacking point of view, so holding the likes of Bamford and Rafinha in your teams could be the key. You could also play the likes of Dallas and Melier in the same games, especially when only 8 teams feature in game week 29. The third team that we're talking about here is Tottenham. They're on the way to revival after Gareth Bale has started featuring in more games for Mourinho's men. In my opinion, their attacking trio of Kane, Son and Bale look really good at the moment. They play their London rivals Arsenal, then Villa and Newcastle in the next 3. Now a lot of managers have started to think about a double up or even a triple up with either Bale or Reguilon, who has also got the potential for clean sheets along with some attacking returns. So if you want to go a bit differential, then Bale, Reguilon and even Lloris for that matter are standout options. Now let's look at the same teams for game weeks 31 to 34. These are probably the worst out of the lot as they face 3 top sides, Man City, Liverpool and Man United. Okay, so Liverpool are really struggling at the moment, so there could be attacking returns there, but Man City and Man United will be tough games, especially from a defensive point of view, so you might want to get rid of Dallas or your Leeds keeper for these games. Holding one of Rafinha or Bamford might be okay for these games. You could play them in 1 or 2 of these games, or probably bench them if you have better players to play in your playing 11. Then we come to Aston Villa, who also play Liverpool and Man City in these run of games. By this time, you might have at least a double or even a triple up on Aston Villa, and you might want to look at other defenders in case you've got Matt Target. Even replacing Martinez could be an option if you have an additional transfer or you are on a wildcard in game week 31. Obviously taking a hit for this transfer doesn't make sense as the upside to points from a keeper is never huge and Martinez is a safe beast. He'll definitely give you some safe points, so you could hold him as well in case you have other transfers to make. I think same goes from Watkins and Grealish as well. In case if you have them in your team and you have some better options available, you could keep them on your bench and play the other players. Now coming to Spurs, and they probably have the best fixtures among the 3. Man United and Everton are 2 top sides, but Spurs' attacking threat is huge for these games. Sheffield United could prove to be an even better game for Spurs. Now tricky thing is that Tottenham don't have a game in game week 33 as they play the EFL Cup final against Man City, and it might be difficult to field 11 players for that week in case if you have 4 to 5 players from these teams. Now the question is, how many Tottenham players should we have? You could definitely get in a Spurs defender for the next 3 games, but then move him out in game week 31 for a different player. Now that would leave you with 1 or at max 2 players if you don't have a triple up on Spurs. Having a double attack still makes sense if you could put them on the bench for game week 33. Now the reason I'm saying this is because Spurs play Sheffield, Leeds and Wolves in the next 3 games from game week 34 to 36, and it might be worth having at least a double Spurs attack for these games. The other option is having both till the Everton game in game week 32 and then selling one of them for game week 33, getting them back again for game week 34. This in my opinion means 2 transfers to get the same player, so it might not be worth it unless there's some really good alternate options available. So just to summarize, all 3 teams are good to have till game week 30, but then you can alter your team for game week 31 to 34, especially around the Villa and Leeds players who have tricky fixtures. Spurs attackers would be a definite hold for me and my team during the same time. If you have a Spurs defender, it's a completely viable move to switch him for a different player for game weeks 31 to 34. Now guys, let's talk about a few teams who have a good run of fixtures from game week 31 to 34. The ones that stand out are Arsenal, Chelsea and Wolves. Arsenal have had one of those weird seasons this year. A huge problem with them right now is their emphasis on the Europa League. With so much competition for the top 6 spots in the league this season, it makes more sense for them to focus on Europa, and if Arteta takes that route, there will be some rotation in the league for sure. They play Sheffield, Fulham and Newcastle, so there is a chance of some FPL points, but how many of us actually own Arsenal players right now? I don't think so there are many out there. Still, there are some decent options in Tierney, Aubameyang and Saka. I feel Saka is the one I'm looking at. He has been one of the better players for Arsenal this season and could be vital for some of these games. There's a definite risk of rotation, but he's surely one to keep an eye on. From a defensive point of view, Tierney along with Leno in goal also look good. Tierney especially could be an important pick considering his attacking threat as well. Now Arsenal's next player Aubameyang for me is a tricky one here. He's almost in the mid 11 million range and has started to play a bit more centrally, so there's surely some scope there, but that's a lot of investment for an attacker who hasn't been that consistent this season. Now let's talk about Chelsea and see why they are a part of our discussion today. So Chelsea has been improving under Tuchel and the defensive numbers in particular look really impressive. They are facing West Brom, Crystal Palace and Fulham in weeks 31 to 34 and there's really good potential here. In fact, if they had a game in game week 29, they would have definitely been the best team to focus on for the next 6 to 7 weeks. When I see their players from an FPL point of view, I see a few really good options there. We all know that Tuchel looks to rotate and has given a run to all his players, but from what we've seen so far, Mendy, Azpilicueta and Rudiger look pretty much safe when it comes to the starting 11. Rudiger in particular looks like a bargain pick in a Chelsea defense, which has kept 7 clean sheets in the last 9 games. He didn't start the game against Everton, but he generally would be a regular starter in Tuchel's team. In midfield, there is one standout option for now, Mason Mount. The midfielder looked like a really good player under Lampard and has continued his good form under Tuchel. He's a player who can score goals, and that bodes well for bonus points if we include the clean sheet potential as well. Around the 7 million price range, he could be a good replacement for the likes of Barnes, Maddison and Jack Grealish. Timo Werner is another decent option, but then his price is definitely in the premium category, and I honestly won't even think about taking out Kane and getting him instead. He could be a decent replacement for the likes of Vardy, or a Bamford or even a Watkins if we have the additional money. I feel all in all, he could be a very good punt to take. Wolves is another team that stand out if you look at their fixtures from game week 31 to 34. They play Fulham, Sheffield, Burnley and West Brom, 4 of the bottom 6 clubs in the league this season, and there's a really good potential for clean sheets for the likes of Patricio in goal and Cody in defense. There is an option to switch to Semedo as well if FPL managers are looking to get that additional attacking threat. In terms of their midfield, there are a couple of decent options. Pedro Neto has stood out across the whole season and could prove to be a really important player for Wolves if they want a top half finish this season. An unlikely option has also emerged in the past few weeks, the Portuguese midfielder Ruben Neves. Goals have been hard to come by for Wolves, and the settled midfielder has chipped in with 3 goals in his last 7 games. His price is just a little more than 5 million, and him and Neto could be decent replacements for the likes of Rafinha when Leeds fixtures get a bit tough. So to summarize here as well, all 3 teams, Arsenal, Chelsea and Wolves, look good to target from game week 31, and the next 3 game weeks should be seen as a night test for all the players that we've highlighted. All 3 teams have some decent high value options in defense and midfield and could replace your Aston Villa and Leeds United players. I'm personally looking at the likes of Patricio, Rudiger, Mount and Saka for my team, and it should be an interesting few weeks ahead. These were some teams to target for the next 5 to 6 weeks. Now let's talk about the best possible chip strategies and how to get the most out of your remaining chips. The way things stand, very few of you would have all your chips available. In case you do, your options are the wildcard, free hit, triple captain and bench boost. Let's talk about the free hit chip first. Obviously this allows you to make unlimited transfers and change your team for 1 week, post which it gets back to your old squad. Now a lot of managers are thinking of using it in game week 29 where only 8 teams play. So if you have a lot of players right now from teams like Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Everton and Leicester, then you might not have a good team to play in Game Week 29. Another question a lot of people ask me is how many players are enough that week. To be fair, there are no clear-cut fixtures this week and the average score is going to be pretty low, so if you have around 8 players in your team, I think you should be fine. Now that also means if you're only having 2 to 3 players who are playing in Game Week 29, you might need to use your free hit chip unless you're okay taking a few hits for the next few weeks, which again doesn't look like it's going to be worth it. This Game Week 29 is a bit of an irrelevant one. You could also get away with having less players and play the free hit in Game Week 33, where Spurs and Man City don't have a game. That also means their opponents Fulham and Southampton blank that week. I think this week looks a lot more attacking to play the free hit chip. Aston Villa, Man United, Brighton, Liverpool and even Leicester have a decent game, and with all these options available, you really have a chance to do things a bit differently here. I personally have used my free hit chip in Game Week 19, but if I had the chip available, I would definitely use it in Game Week 33. Now there's one more possible scenario for using the free hit chip. I heard some news that Premier League is planning to shift its 36th and 37 rounds of fixtures back to ensure that all the clubs can welcome at least 10,000 fans for one game before the end of the season. Now according to the Twitter legend Ben Crennan, if this thing happens, then FA Cup final will almost certainly cause 2 fixtures to be postponed in Game Week 36, and those fixtures would move to midweek before the FA Cup final. This would also mean that 4 teams would get a double game week in Game Week 35 and a blank game week in Game Week 36. So I feel the free hit chip could be used in one of these weeks. Now personally, if you ask me, when I'm making my decisions every week, I like to have as much information as possible, and the last bit is an unknown space for now. I generally like to place my bets on something which I'm pretty confident of, so for me, if I had the chip, it would definitely be Game Week 33. Coming to our next chip, the Wildcard. A lot of us have used our wildcards, but I have mine available, and for those of you who haven't used theirs, there are a couple of good options. You can navigate through the blank in Game Week 29 by either making transfers or using your free hit chip, and once you're done with that, you can activate your wildcard in Game Week 31. Now if you have a lot of players from Aston Villa and Leeds and don't want them in your teams for the next few games, then wildcard looks like a really good option for you. It saves a lot of your transfers and also allows you to look at teams like Leicester and Liverpool, who right now either have a lot of players injured or are not performing well. I suggest you keep an eye on both teams, as there could be huge differentials on your wildcard whenever you decide to use it. Another option to use it is probably a bit later, when we have more information once you get the final list of rescheduled fixtures and the blanks in Game Week 33. We also have the FA Cup semi-finals in Game Week 32 and the finals in either 36 or 37, and that would mean more blanks and double game weeks. But again, this space is not very known, so I would mostly be activating my wildcard chip in Game Week 31. Our third chip in discussion is the bench boost chip. Now ideally a bench boost works really well when combined with a double game week, but that might be an ideal scenario. I think things often don't go according to plan in FPL, and using your bench boost chip in a single game week could also be highly beneficial. Any week where you feel you have decent players who could give you points for that week, you should play your bench boost chip. A lot of managers have already played this chip, but for the ones who have not, Game Week 28 or Game Week 30 could also be a double game week. Now in case you're not confident about these weeks, then you could also wait till Game Week 35 or 36, where you might get another double game week. The last option for the bench boost chip is to play it in any weeks which are probably not a blank game week. To be very honest, if you can get anywhere between 15 to 20 points, you should be happy. There's absolutely no point of taking big hits just to get your bench ready and then playing the chip. Also, don't drop players on the bench that you would otherwise start just to make your bench boost points higher. I mean, it doesn't work like that. Always remember one thing, guys, by doing too much investment on your bench, you might not be utilizing your playing 11 to the fullest, and that could hurt you in the long run. Our final chip is a triple captain chip, and a lot of managers used it in the huge double game week 26 or even in game week 27. Now again, as with the bench boost chip, you don't have to play it in a double game week. Like this week, Kane had a 19-point haul as compared to his 8 points spread across 2 weeks in game week 26. We played a triple captain chip in game week 26 on Kane, and it did not benefit us a great deal. Now there are some really interesting triple captaincy options coming up, with Kane playing Newcastle in Game Week 30, who are struggling big time at the moment. Game Week 31, Gundogan and company are facing Leeds United. Game Week 32 and 33, Salah and Bruno Fernandes are facing Leeds this time. We know Leeds concede a lot of goals against the big teams, so there are definitely options available. You could also wait till the future double game weeks for teams who get to the semis and final stages of the FA Cup, along with the EFL Cup final teams Tottenham and Man City. The coming game weeks are going to be quite hectic, guys, and I really believe this strategy guide gives you some options that you could think of and go for your FPL teams. I also think that there is no one best strategy available, and it totally depends on your team. So carefully assess your teams and see what moves you need to make in the coming weeks. I had a great time recording this video for you guys and I hope you had fun watching it. That's the most important thing, guys, to have fun while playing this game. So that'll be all from my side for today. I will be back this week with my Game Week 28 preparation video. We'll be posting some really cool stuff on our Instagram page as well, so make sure you check that out. You will find a link to our page in the description below. As always, guys, if you're new around here, leave a like on this video and subscribe to our channel Insanely Football for all the good FPL stuff. Make sure, guys, to check out our entire FPL playlist. It gives you an idea of the kind of content that we do. Have a good one, and I'll see you Insaners next time.